You can keep them in your pocket. Doesn't really feel like much is there. So another thing is just, I don't know, you can pull the knot back and forth to make sure it's tight, because at the beginning you can move it back and forth. All right, slide it off. All right, I'm walking you through this because the Our Father is just a little bit different. I want to get you to the Our Father. Okay, that's 10. 10 Hail Marys. So now we obviously do the Our Father. What's different about the Our Father? The knot itself is not different, except for the fact that instead of going around 3 times, 1, 2, 3, you go around 5. And because you go around 5, it's a little harder to keep these 5 from crossing over each other after you slide them off. So I slide them off. And I gotta, you gotta keep the 5 together. So as you're sliding it off, don't just take it off. Hold it together. Sort of keep holding on to it. And you do the same thing. You pull it through. You pull the rope through the hole. And you can use this to bring it back, like I was saying with the Hail Marys. All right, so I got the 5. It's hard to keep it together. So here's something I've learned. If you actually just sort of put your hand like this and guide it, even though you start to see some cross over, for whatever weird reason, you just keep pulling, it ends up together. I'm not necessarily sure why. Everything falls into place. You might have to do it a couple times, but there you go. So it's I just finished this bead, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slide it off, pull it through, and then, tighten it just like for the Hail Marys. And of course you give yourself a little more space than you did between the Hail Marys. Even though the bead's bigger, you want it to have a little more space. All right, so it doesn't look, on the camera, it doesn't look much bigger, but it is in person. So it's clearly the Our Father bead. All right. So now that we've gone through all the first decade, 10 Hail Marys, make sure you count, because once you keep going, you can't just untie every knot and add another bead in there. So just be careful and count. Make sure you have 10. Our Father. Now I'm just gonna, do the next 4 decades. You just do it the exact same. Just, make sure you start the Hail Mary equal distance from the Our Father and the 10th Hail Mary of the last decade, like that. I will say, There's little things like this I still have learned to do, don't worry. You can't really see it, but you'll notice that every knot, 3, then 2 crossing over. So on one side it's 3, on one side it's like, there you go, you can't really see, 2. You'll see it, but at some point I'd like to learn how to get them the same way, but I think that's being too much of a perfectionist. Just let it go. Hello again. I just wanted to give you a quick pro tip. So I've made 3 decades. And on the 4th decade, one thing you can do is make sure the 4th and the 5th decade are equal with the 1st and the 2nd, just so the rosary is a little more ordered. So what you can do is you got the 1st decade, the 2nd decade, and then you can make a arc with the 3rd decade so that, at the 5th and 6th bead, it starts turning around, and that the Our Father at the beginning and the Glory Be at the end meet. And then as you're making the 4th one, so I'll show you, you can make a bead, I'll just make 2 to show you. Okay, and you can do the arc again, and you can see how I'm a little off. Well, that's okay. You don't have to be exactly on, but it's just to avoid you being really off. So that's just a little pro tip. You can adjust, like you see how I made a little shorter, so I'm going to give the 3rd bead a little more distance just to get it back on track. So there you go.